Well, we actually visited the Prime Minister in his home in London and met that way. I'd read an article about him that it really made me realize that he was doing the things that we had taken 10 years to kind of understand we needed to be doing. And
in Africa.
In Africa, yeah. I mean, that a lot of small, short-term programs might help a few people in some places, but that, the real issues are governance. And Tony's organization is, I mean, there's nobody else that can do what he does in Africa or in the world.
What did you take from your premiership in the UK to governance in Africa? I mean, what skills did you take from that and applied it to Africa?
Here's the thing and the lesson I took, which really makes me want to do this around the world today, is that when you run for office, you've got to be the great persuader. That's your task. You've got to go out and communicate and persuade people. The fascinating thing, though, is when you become the Prime Minister or President and you sit in the seat of decision-making, you've actually got to become the great Chief Executive. It's a different skill set. And it took me some time to realize that. And once the light went on, strangely, my last 5 years of government, even though I had massive problems and foreign issues and post 9/11 difficult situation,
yeah.
I then realized I had to change the way government worked and focus on prioritization, implementation, performance managing, the types of skills that politicians often don't have. So what I say to the presidents and prime ministers now is, look, just let me shorten the learning curve. You may have fought a great campaign. It actually means nothing about how you govern.
You, Prime Minister, believe that Africa is going to be as big as Asia has been in terms of importance to the global economy. But in Washington, you have policymakers, lawmakers who are preoccupied with domestic issues. And we've seen this over the last few weeks with the fighting over Obamacare, the fighting over spending, fighting over domestic issues. How do you get policymakers, lawmakers in the United States, for instance, to care about these issues you're talking about when they're fighting over a medical device tax?
Well, the truth is people are going to carry on focusing on their own domestic concerns, and it would be the same in my country too. So, we've got to be realistic about this politically. However, I think there is a space in our politics to say this is long-term important for us. It's important for our economies. It's important for our security, actually, since many of these African countries could go on a benign path in development or not, and be subject to all sorts of strains, not just of poverty, but of extremism. So you can make the case very, very easily. But I mean, I think you've got to be realistic. I mean, right now, especially in Washington and actually back home in the UK, people are going to be looking at the hospital at the end of the street, the school, and so on. And that's just natural. However, in the space that is, as it were, opened up for this debate, what I think is important for people to realize is, one, policy is shifting and changing, and I think in a good modern way, and involving organizations that are non-governmental, like Howard's organization and mine. And secondly, Africa itself is on the move and improving.